the report/who to contact button to find answers and contact information. Some categories will answer your questions. Others will allow you to notify city staff by using the report and track system. Want to know what's happening in Stillwater? Preview upcoming events in the community at a glance on the homepage, or visit the full calendar to see all events. Life just got simpler, with the ability to filter pages to find the information you need quicker, using our special categories prepared for your particular demographic. The latest city news is at your fingertips. Stay up to date by following the link to the main news page to read all of our articles. Wondering about construction around town? Track the progress and learn more about major city infrastructure and development projects in Stillwater. All projects will list contact information for the project manager and have a helpful timeline displayed to quickly view the current status of the project. We want to make navigating the site easy for you. From the home page, you can quickly access some of the top requested items and view the most visited pages. Can't find what you're looking for? Search for a specific topic, document, or event with our sophisticated built-in search engine. We hope you enjoy your Stillwater.org experience and continue to use our website for all of your city needs. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our special edition of Money Mondays with the City of Stillwater. I'm Megan Kasak, and I'm the Communications Coordinator with the City, and today we're sitting down with Transportation and Stormwater Services Director Monty Carnes. Thank you, Monty.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Good, thank you. And you know, we had actually had this scheduled to speak with you today on Monday in advance, and it just so happened it was kind of fortuitous timing. So let's just start off and want to talk about last week's event.
So I'm not sure fortuitous and a flash flood go together, but but I understand the sentiment. So we did have a pretty good rain on Thursday. I think reported in many places that it was about 3 inches in an hour, and it's pretty close. The data that we look at, there's some NOAA sites west of town that we have access to their data, and it showed we had about 3.2 inches of rain. Interesting about that storm was it was a 10, 25-year event somewhere in that, but embedded in that there was a period of time when it was raining at the rate of 8 inches per hour, which is over a 100-year event for about a 15-minute period in there. So pretty significant, typical of flash floods where you have a lot of water in a short amount of time, a lot of street flooding, and then it goes down very, very quickly. Unfortunately, we have some areas in town where when we have those type of events, we do get some water in some structures, and for the owners of those properties, that's very damaging for them, and particularly when it's rental property or other people, it's their homes. So no one likes that. So those are issues that we have to address, which kind of brings us up to what our topic was going to be, was stormwater master planning. And it's something that's on one of my goals is for us to update our stormwater master planning. There's really two things we look at in stormwater plans. One are the kind of short duration flash flood events like we had last week. And the other are kind of when we have the big storms that last a couple of days, and when Stillwater Creek gets out of its banks, the lakes above town, McMurtry or Lake Carl Blackwell, are full and overflowing their spillways, and the type of flooding we get from those. So those are two very different types of phenomena, and we have to plan differently for how we handle those situations. So one of the big concerns for the latter is that so much of Stillwater, the Stillwater Creek Basin, of which Stillwater is a part of, we're about 33 square miles. There's about 90 square miles above Stillwater that is outside our regulatory development regulations, and that we have limited input into how those areas are developed. So nothing imminent there, but if you look 40, 50 years out, and Stillwater continues to grow, and if that growth occurs outside the city limits, that could have significant impact on what we do now. So
good evening. Welcome to the November 19, 2018 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. I will call this meeting to order, and I'll ask that you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we will get started with item 3, the consent docket. Councilors, questions, comments, or items you'd like to see removed from the consent docket?
Mayor, I'd like to remove item A from the consent docket, please.
Okay, item A will be removed. Councilors, further questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve the consent docket minus item A. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket minus item A. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, consent docket is approved minus item A. That takes us to item 4, public comment on agenda items not scheduled for public hearing. Dr. Major, I think we have signed up or announced to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Doug Major with Meridian Technology Center, and I came this evening to thank you. We all know that in successful communities, all entities work together for economic development. We're grateful of the City's Council's willingness to reconsider the impact that the TIF would have on Meridian Technology Center and other taxing jurisdictions. And we're also grateful for the residents of the City of Stillwater who stood up to support Meridian throughout this process. We want to thank you for ensuring that no local entities are negatively impacted through the TIF by only capturing the growth when redevelopment occurs as a result of the TIF. The business of economic development is our mission at Meridian Technology Center as we prepare students to enter the workforce, work with existing businesses to make them stronger, and consult with emerging companies through our Center for Business Development. In communities like Stillwater, strong partnerships among economic development entities are key to ensuring future growth in communities that will thrive. As we move forward together, this compromise will serve our community well. I appreciate you for considering and adopting the changes this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Well said. I don't think we have anyone else signed up to speak, so we'll move down to item 5, items removed from the consent docket. Councilor Jalowski.
Yes, I just wanted to, following in Councilor Zanotti's vein of highlighting good things, I wanted to just highlight, I think this might be one of the few times moving forward with that we have the opportunity to talk about the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant for Strickland Park. We're getting ready to gear up for construction. It'll be an inclusive and accessible playground for our community at Strickland Park. And I just wanted to highlight, too, the private dollars that will be leveraged through this grant. So we've got the city and the Department of Commerce coming in with the Community Development Block Grant, and then we have the high school students at SMAC contributing to this project this year. And I'm so proud of the work that they're doing and so proud of the opportunity to leverage those dollars and dollars from the community to support this project. They've already had a great kickoff. They did a jump rope for SMAC with the 4th and 5th graders a little bit ago, and I know they raised about $7,000. Wow. So the kids in our community are already hard at it, leveraging the CDBG grant. So I just wanted to highlight that another time and remind the community to look for opportunities to engage in this project throughout the year.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
I would like to move to approve item A in the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item A from the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved. All right. Item 6, general orders. Consider amending right-of-way management fee schedule, CC-18-132. Mr. McNichol.
Paula Dennison, our Development Services Director, will provide that report. This is on the heels of a previous report that the council had some issues with, and we went back, took a long look at it, and Paula will give you the results.
Good evening, Paula.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for this time. Based on the concerns that were voiced when we adopted the fee schedule for our right-of-way management ordinance, if you recall, the occupancy fee, there's two separate things. There's the public way permit and the registration of licensed streetworks contractors. Then there's the occupancy fee for any entity, typically a utility, occupying our public rights-of-way. One of the major concerns was the occupancy fee and the basis for it. When it was calculated and presented to the council, the basis for it was the total budgeted transportation and stormwater services budget. What the Deputy City Manager, Chief Financial Officer, and I have done is we have backed that out to the actuals expenditures for multiple years to see what impact that would have on it. Based on us revising it from the budgeted amount to the actual expenditure amount, it does have the fees much more realistic and just a small portion of that which they were otherwise under what had been adopted previously. The spreadsheet is included in your packets. The first page is the budgeted amount, and you'll see the very high $1 million to $4 million plus numbers. Under the actuals, it's $600,000 to about 1.8. We're going to exclude the fiscal year 16 because that had a one-off in it, and that's why that $5 million number was so high, because of the one-off. So without it, we'd still be looking at the about $1.5 million as the basis for the occupancy fee. So formulating it all out, then you can also see with the two real applicants that we are discussing with, in conversation with, what their annual payments would be. Previously, I believe one of them was actually up in the hundreds of thousands annually. So this makes a large dent, and it is a very positive move, I believe. Any questions on this before I go to the next two? No?
Thank you.
Yes.
Just to clarify, so we're talking about when you say actual costs, you mean the actual cost that we spend on maintaining public rights-of-way?
Yes, and not all of the money that is spent on the Transportation and Stormwater Services Department. Some of that money. One of the considerations that Ms. Reams and I did was the staff that we have employed. Yes, part of their job is, but not all of their pay goes to maintenance. So we calculated approximately 10% of their salaries would go towards the object of maintaining our public rights of way. So we have rationally broken those down.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so in the public way permit, which is different from the occupancy, the public way permits are issued to anyone performing any construction activity within the public right-of-way. They're installing water lines, sewer lines, a new street, they're a sidewalk, they're having to cut a sidewalk in order to put in a new driveway, any of that type of construction activity work within the public right-of-way. There are two fees that we are quite concerned with because we have had someone come up and obtain a public way permit, apply for it, And we calculated these fees. One of them is a sidewalk disruption fee, and the other is the parking space disruption fee. The original fee amount is a set amount per foot of sidewalk disruption fee. We'll take it first, based on the number of days of disruption, and you're given the that formula out. When we spoke with a fraternity who is rebuilding, they're tearing down and completely rebuilding. On their side of the street, they have an ADA accessible sidewalk. They're going to close the sidewalk for 3/4 of a year while they rebuild their fraternity, but they had to provide a like ADA accessible sidewalk since this one was closed. In doing so, their sidewalk disruption fee amounted to $173,000. That was just the cost that they would have to pay, excluding any other permits or fees or anything else. And in evaluating that and having discussions with them, we agree with them that that is way over and above. So we have two proposals in your packet. One, we are recommending to where it is not $1 per foot per day, it's escalating. It would start out 10 cents for the first 90 days, 25 for 91 to 180, and then 50 cents. This would be per foot per day for 181 days to, in this case, 251 days. And that could give you the amount, which is quarter of what they initially would be charged. The other proposal we want to provide you with is even reducing those in half. So instead of the 10 cents, it's 5 cents. Instead of the 25, 12 and a half, and then instead of the 50, it's 25 cents. Just to give you a look-see of what that would amount to. And this is a one-time fee that they pay in order to obtain that public way permit. One of the things that we did do, we did not hold their public way permit up because of having this conversation this evening. We went ahead and issued it with the condition that whatever the council's determination was, that they would be responsible for the payment of that. Secondly, along with that is a parking space disruption fee. And as everyone knows, around campus, parking spaces are extremely valuable and not often available. So in the same fraternity tearing down their building and reconstructing, they are disrupting 5 spaces for the 251 days. In parking spaces, we give the first 10 days free because the dumpster could be parked out there, or the sidewalk would have to be closed, can't access, whatever the case may be. Under the current, it's $10 per space for the days of disruption over 10. So their parking space would be $12,000. Along with their sidewalk, they're looking at $195,000 just for those 2 fees, not counting the others. So our proposal is to drop that to where if they are reconstructing or developing a habitable structure, then you get the first 60 days free, because usually, even if you're building a house, the minimum you're going to have is 60 days that you're going to have need of that parking space. Over that, it would be the $10 per, but it doesn't start at day 11, it starts at day 61. So throwing those out there as options that are available, the parking space fee proposal amendment, and then the recommended sidewalk disruption fee. Be happy to answer any questions. I know that's a lot of numbers I just threw out at you.
A lot of tiny little, big numbers, but tiny print.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. I have it on
That's
PowerPoint,
okay.
if that would help.
No, I figured it out.
So on the first one we talked about, the right-of-way occupancy for
yes.
We're talking about people putting things in the right-of-way, and we're charging them part of the cost, basically part of what it costs us to maintain the right-of-way. If you're going to basically lease space in it, we're going to charge you a portion of what we pay.
Correct.
That seems straightforward.
Correct.
These are more, the city, the public owns this sidewalk, And if they're closing it, they still have to provide a route around, but the disruption in general and the fact that they've basically taken public property for a period of time means that we ask them to pay a fee for that. It's not
Correct.
offsetting any hard costs of ours, correct?
No, it's not.
Okay, so it's
That is
more of
correct.
I mean, one, just paying for the
Hindrance.
public's inconvenience.
Yes.
And two, somewhat of a discouragement to keep people from doing this forever, right? We don't want someone to come to a construction project and block off one of our sidewalks for months at a time unless they really, really need to.
Yes, especially if there's no construction activity occurring on the property. Correct.
So those second two we're talking about are really more along the inconvenience and let's make sure you really need to close this stuff.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
But-
Councilors?
I'm sorry, but you said that they still would have to provide if they're disrupting sidewalk flow, they'd still have to provide that access to.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's not, okay.
No, it is just the reconsideration of the fees and how they're calculated. Yes, ma'am.
Is the parking similar? I mean, if they block off 5 parking spots, do they have to make sure there's parking somewhere else available?
No,
If
they
it's a
do
handicapped
not.
spot, do they have to?
It does not have the same requirement in that regard as a sidewalk does.
Okay. What was the staff recommended alternative on both of these?
The staff recommended alternative on the sidewalk disruption fee was the 10 cent, 25 cent, and 50 cent per foot fee. And then on the parking disruption fee, it was actually not a change in the fee, but a change in the upfront free days you have. So going from 10 to 60.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Paula.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So I guess the next item on our agenda here is a resolution to adopt this fee schedule, correct?
Yes, sir.
Counselors, before, I guess we could talk about it now or when we get to the resolution, I suppose, but questions or comments or thoughts about staff recommendations on that? Should we just go to the resolution?
Let's go to the resolution.
All right. Item 7A, Resolution CC-2018-23, a resolution setting fees for right-of-way management and occupancy in accordance with Chapter 37 of the Stillwater Municipal Code. Councilors, questions, comments, or motions regarding this resolution?
I appreciate the work that the staff did to refigure these, and I would make a motion to accept staff recommendations.
Second.
I'm going to take that as a motion to adopt Resolution CC-2018-23.
Yeah,
And we have a motion and a second on that, so council, please vote.
good interpretation.
It's on his A game tonight.
Am I able to do that? Is that within my? With a vote of 5-0, Resolution CC-2018-23 is approved. Takes us to 7B, Resolution CC-2018-24, a resolution approving the formula for determining the sales tax increments generated from increment District Number 3, Stillwater. Mr. Dorman, do you want to talk about this one?
Just very briefly, what this resolution does is establishes the guidelines for when the 2 cent or 2% sales tax would be apportioned to the TIF under the recently enacted ordinance. Basically, it requires a new or expanded business, as shown on the sales tax reports, or an expansion of business, provided that there's financing assistance granted by the city. So, in other words, the sales tax will not be apportioned until such time as it is impacted by it is either a new business or it is something that the city has participated in.
So it's basically the enabling resolution for what we passed in the
Right.
the ordinance on sales tax. Okay. Questions or comments, councilors?
Motion to adopt resolution number CC-2018-24.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Resolution CC-2018-24 is adopted. All right, that takes us to the long reading part of the meeting for me. We'll jump to item 8, ordinances. Item A, ordinance number 3420, an ordinance related to airport operations in the city of Stillwater, amending Chapter 8 of the Stillwater City Code entitled Aviation. Article 2, Stillwater Regional Airport Authority, Section 8-19 Definitions, Section 8-20 Created, Section 8-21 Membership, Section 8-22 Officers, Meetings, etc. Repealing in its entirety Section 8-24 Reports, amending Section 8-26 Fiscal Affairs, and Section 8-27 Privileges, Operation, and Use, providing for severability and declaring an emergency. Mr. Dorman.
This is the result of a meeting that I had recently with the Airport Authority where we examined the existing ordinance and how that board functions right now as an entity. And there were a number of changes that were made to that ordinance back in 2005, one of which was to enlarge the size of the board. And that has actually created some difficulty in obtaining quorums and in conducting business. So after discussion with the Airport Authority, it was agreed that probably the best course of action would be to reduce the size of the board back to 5 members, which it was prior to 2005, and to adjust the quorum requirement to 3 as opposed to 4 members. Also in this ordinance are some changes that will allow the city manager through the airport director to make routine purchases without the necessity of having to run everything through the Airport Authority. Because as it stands right now, most purchases have to be approved by the Airport Authority before they can be completed by the city manager, even if they're within the city manager's purchasing authority limits. And so we made those adjustments to it as well. There's also a provision in there where we struck out an old requirement for providing reports, given that the Airport Authority and the airport itself has become a city department as opposed to a standalone entity as it was prior to 2005. So the proposed changes then were solicited and adopted by the Airport Authority, and we would recommend that the board consider, the City Council would consider adopting these tonight on first reading.
Okay, councilors, questions?
So, Mr. Dorman, the purchases then would not exceed whatever the city manager's limit would be. That still would have to go through the Airport Authority. Just the other purchases wouldn't need to be. Right.
The routine things. There are a lot of routine items that are purchased that normally would have to go through the Airport Authority, and that would require them in some instances to hold meetings that they might not necessarily have to hold. And so given that it's difficult sometimes to get that board together, this is a way of kind of streamlining those operations. Similarly, it would also allow like rentals of small, short-term rentals and things like that could also be done there that are within that purchasing authority of the city manager. So it will help streamline operations there and allow the board to focus on the larger issues of, building the facilities out there and operating the facilities in a general sense and planning.
Motion to advance ordinance 3420 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance ordinance 3420 to second reading. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the ordinance is advanced to second reading. Item B, ordinance number 3425, an ordinance related to land development in the city of Stillwater, repealing in its entirety ordinance number 3393, codified as Stillwater City Code, Chapter 23, titled Land Development Code, Article 13, Overlay Districts, Division 4, titled 12th Avenue Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District, providing for severability. This is us cleaning up the 12th Street attempt to talk about overlays and all that stuff.
Yes, sir. This and item C. So these two ordinances would repeal the previously adopted ordinances.
Okay.
Motion to advance ordinance 3425 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on 3425. Please vote. Ordinance 3425, with a vote of 5 to 0, is advanced to second reading. Item C, ordinance number 3426, an ordinance related to land development in the city of Stillwater, repealing in its entirety ordinance number 3394, codified as City of Stillwater City Code, Chapter 23, titled Land Development Code, Article 13, titled Overlay Districts, Division 5, titled 12th Avenue Neighborhood Mixed Use Overlay District, providing for severability.
Motion to advance ordinance 3426 to second reading?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance ordinance 3426. Please vote. With a vote of 5 to 0, the ordinance is advanced to second reading. I do want to take a second there on those 12th Avenue overlay things and just note, we talked about this a little bit at our last meeting, but we hope to have better process with these in the future. I did want to make sure that we recognize the folks who work so hard, both within the neighborhood and developers and folks. That was a very involved process. We had a lot of people who were very passionate and involved in working towards trying to find a solution there. It is unfortunate that, well, I mean, there was an outcome, I guess, and that's a good thing, but we certainly want to encourage folks to remain involved, to take their neighborhood seriously, to try to work with the city towards accomplishing the things they want to see in their neighborhoods. This was I think, again, a lot of folks working very hard, and we want to encourage that to continue to happen, even though this one didn't turn out the way they wanted it to this time. So, just an aside. Ordinances, item D, ordinance number 3427, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Stillwater City Code, titled Administration, Article 3, Authorities, Boards, Commissions, Trusts, Division 9, Rural Water Advisory Board, Section 2-349, Membership, and Section 2-350, Quorum, providing for severability and declaring an emergency. Mr. Dorman.
This ordinance is presented tonight at the request of the Rural Water Advisory Board. Just very quickly, this board was created when the city merged with Rural Water Corporation number 3 back in 2006 to provide a voice for the ratepayers outside of the city limits to have some input in how the water systems and stuff were operated. And in that context, the board was set up so that basically it would encompass the Rural Water Corporation number 3 board and any other rural water corporations that the city either was operating their system or the city acquired at a later date, hence all of the language in here that you see about the board growing. What has basically happened is when this board was created, there were 7 members on the Rural Water Corporation board. They have since reduced the size of their board from 7 members to 5 members. And by doing so, they too have quorum problems when this board tries to meet, because sometimes it's difficult for them to get 4 members to meet as the Rural Water Advisory Board. So they have asked that we reduce the size of that of the initial board, which is basically their board, from 7 members to 5 members. And that would allow them to operate more efficiently. The Rural Water Corporation number 3 board still exists primarily to enforce the terms of the agreement that the city entered into a few years ago when the systems were merged. So that's this request tonight, is to simply reduce the size of the board and change the quorum requirement from 4 to 3.
Councilors?
I think it's interesting that we have these 2 boards being reduced, and that has also happened to the Planning Commission. And these boards are really important for the operation of the city, and we are all busy. And I do want to make an appreciation for the people who serve on these boards. They're not famous, they don't get paid, but it's really important work. Motion to advance 3427 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance ordinance 3427 to second reading. Please vote. With a vote of 5 to 0, the ordinance is advanced to second reading. All right, ordinances on second reading. Ordinance 3421, an ordinance closing portions of a public right-of-way located within the city of Stillwater adjacent to properties addressed as 1940 West 26th Avenue, 2223 South Willis Street, 1799 West 19th Avenue, and 2199 West 19th Avenue, as more particularly described herein. Councilors.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3421.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3421 is adopted. Ordinance 3422, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land located at 1940 West 26th Avenue, as more particularly described in this ordinance, from RT residential 1 and 2 family to RSS residential small lot single family classification.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3422.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3422 is adopted. Ordinance 3423, an ordinance closing portions of a public right-of-way located within the city of Stillwater along West Street between Maple Avenue and 4th Avenue, as more particularly described herein.
Motion to adopt ordinance 3423.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3423 is adopted. Ordinance 3424, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3407, approving and adopting a minor amendment to the Stillwater Reinvestment Plan, a Stillwater Downtown Campus Link project plan, providing for an allocation of generated increment to Payne County, its health department, and Meridian Technology as a specific revenue source to these public entities as permitted by law, providing for the allocation of apportioned tax increments, clarifying the project area and increment district boundaries, providing for severability, and declaring an emergency. Councilors.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3424.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 3424. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that ordinance is adopted. Is there a motion on the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the emergency clause to ordinance 3424. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that clause is adopted. All right, item 9, reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report, sir.
Mr. McNichol.
2 items, Mayor. April 1st, 2020 is U.S. Census Day, and we want everyone to be counted. You should start to see the U.S. Census information on the city's social media platforms and website soon. It may seem a long time until April 1st, 2020, but it'll be here before you know it, and it's very important for the city to hit that 50,000 mark. Final item is that I would like to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving holiday.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councilor Zanotti.
I do. The city's November sales tax report is in. The city collected over $2,400,000 in sales tax, which is an increase from November 2017 by 0.12% and exceeded projections by 0.77%. You can read the full sales tax report online at stillwater.org, and I believe that was because I went shopping quite a bit in this month. So you're welcome.
Thanks, Elaine.
Keep it up, Elaine. Keep it up. Yeah. Vice Mayor.
The city welcomed 2 new employees last week. James Sanders is an equipment operator, and Marco Sanzone is an entry-level equipment operator, both in waste management. And we look forward to having both of these gentlemen with the city.
Welcome to the city of Stillwater. Thank you. Councilor Wedlake.
Thank you, sir. We've added another location to Waterline Dead-End Looping Project. The additional site is at 11th Avenue between Pine and Gray. Work on this site will begin in the next couple of weeks. And the reason for this is connecting dead-end water lines, helps to improve the quality of our water citywide. So in that effort, work at Pine and Gray will begin in a couple of weeks.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilor Jaloski.
I'd like to share this meeting's city statistic. In the last fiscal year, the city striped 30,320 feet of Stillwater roads. Wow. The Transportation Department oversees over 440 lane miles of pavement. Great job.
All right. Thank you. And I have an announcement about the Christmas Parade of Lights. It will be held on Thursday, December 6th at 7 p.m. You can download parade entry applications at stillwater.org. Please don't wait too long to get your entry submitted. Get in there and become a part of the Christmas Parade of Lights. All right. I'd also like to welcome our visitors from Leadership Stillwater who are here tonight to observe a city council meeting. Thank you for all you guys do. Thanks for taking part in helping lead our city. Item 11. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the Stillwater City Council meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council meeting is adjourned. All right, we're going to hop over to SEDA, if that's okay with everybody. Stillwater Economic Development Authority. I'll call the meeting of the Stillwater Economic Development Authority for November 19, 2018 to order. And we will jump down to the consent docket.
Motion to approve the consent docket?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. That takes us down to general orders. Item 5A, Chamber of Commerce Quarterly Report. There's Mr. Mingus.
Evening, everyone.
Hello.
I appreciate you putting me in front of people. Usually you let everyone else leave, and then I get to speak to like 5 people. So, Bobby, thanks for bringing your crew to hear my speech tonight.
Somebody's got to listen to you every once in a while.
My kids are tired of it. And I let it be on the record, he's wearing a tie.
That is
pretty special. Good job. My pleasure to speak to you guys again as we do every quarter. The numbers and everything that was included in the report reflects the quarter from July to September of 2018, so Q1 of your fiscal year. As you can see in the RFP that's customary at the top there, our request for proposals, we received 21 for the quarter. We responded to 9 of those, which is in line with generally at 50 to 60% of the RFPs that we respond to. And as we've discussed in the past, the reason we wouldn't respond to an RFP is either way, A, don't have the asset that they're looking for, specific property, size of land, or we don't have the workforce maybe that they're looking for, 5,000 welders or anything material like that that we wouldn't have, we wouldn't respond to. So we're in line with what we've been doing. As of November 12th, we have 31 active projects. Those are the ones that we've responded to. That's a big number, and honestly, probably 15 of those I'm not going to hear from. And so a statistic that's more important, of those 31 that are active, we've had 7 site visits from those 31 that are still active. So if you were to ask me what would I think to be my true active pipeline, would be those 7 and probably 1 or 2 that we've replied to that we haven't had a site visit for. We had 3 BREs, formal business retention expansion visits last quarter, and several informal visits with leadership at manufacturing facilities and their primary job employers. The site visit numbers there, I wanted to put those because this was the first quarter that started where we were taking a more active role in restaurant retail development or recruitment. That started in July, and so we had 2 site visits last quarter that were specific to restaurant retail development. And one of those is an ongoing and very active project that I'm in constant contact with city leadership on that we're really excited about. So if he mentions anything about those, make sure you just say yes to everything Norm asks you about. Some of the kind of highlights on the site visits, as you know, we're reporting these metrics for a couple years now, and I just kind of wanted to highlight some of the growth in the site visits, because although we're only replying to about 50% of the RFPs, I do think that the projects that we're seeing and replying to are more, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but meaningful, or we are a better fit for those projects, so we're getting more site visits. So in 2016, we had 1 site visit. In 2017, we had 4, and so far to date, we've had 8 on the primary job side and then 2 on the restaurant retail. And so activity is progressing. I think our relationship with city staff on the utility side and development services has improved to where we can be more efficient and are putting forth a better product when we get the folks in town. So I wanted to make sure that point got across. You notice there's probably, or hopefully you noticed there was a couple amendments or modifications, I should say, to the spreadsheet that I've been sending you guys. A couple of them, one on the real estate side, it was tough to validate or verify some of that information, price per square foot, rental, vacancy rates. The data we weren't comfortable that the data was really reliable on the sources we were getting it from, and so we pivoted to the priority properties that we're marketing in town. And so you'll see on there, we broke it into heavy industrial, light industrial, and some commercial, and we have buildings, square foot, and sites. on the old spreadsheet, we would just had a kind of general category that said shovel-ready sites, but it didn't have an opportunity to specify, is that light industrial, general industrial, or commercial? And so we broke that out for you all, as well as the square footage total available. And we're working with the city on some other ways to help report that out and document available square footage within various zoning categories. We feel like it gives a better reflection of what Trent and I are doing. Those are the properties that we're actively marketing right now. And that list will continue to grow as we're bringing more of those online. And then the entrepreneurial section, again, some of that data was a little tough or maybe was misplaced. For example, the CapEx, or, that should really remain up in the retention and the attraction. A lot of these startups aren't outlaying a large amount in capital expenditures. Mostly because they're trying to reinvest in personnel to grow the business. And so we removed that, but we added a few things that we think more accurately give a better picture of how strong or robust our entrepreneurial ecosystem is. So we put in there more information that Justin Hazard's going to give us from the incubator. How many tenants they have, what's the occupancy rate, how many of those graduates are we retaining, and then what's their job growth 24 months after graduation. Because I think those are the things that we care about as economic developers, is how we're not only getting them through the incubator, but how we're onboarding them into the community and how are they growing post-incubation. And then just some miscellaneous updates. Startup Stillwater is something that we launched as a brand about 45 days ago. That's Meridian, ourselves, Riata, and a couple other local entrepreneurs realized that we were all facing similar challenges in that when Meridian would have a program, someone would think, oh, I'm not a Meridian student or I'm not engaged, so I can't go to that. Same with the chamber, and then Riata, they thought if I'm not a student, I can't go to those programs, when in all reality, they're all open to the public. And so we decided to strip the branding, check our egos at the door, and do one Startup Stillwater that's unbranded and put all of our programming that's entrepreneurial focus under that umbrella, i.e. 1 Million Cups is one of those programs. We did an accelerator last month with about a half a dozen businesses. So you'll start to see a lot of our entrepreneurial efforts kind of coming under that Startup Stillwater brand for that reason alone. And then some other trips on there. We continue to go down to Dallas and call on site selectors and develop those relationships. I would say the site visit that we had last Tuesday was the fruit of one of that last call trip down to Dallas, was working with that site selector and having them understand the breadth of our community and the sophistication that we're not just a 50,000 head count out in the middle of nowhere, that we can actually compete in some of these. So, and then finally, before I let you guys pepper some questions, speaking of folks wearing a tie, we had a site visit on Tuesday, and I wanted to commend all of the electric utility folks. Brandon Neal is in the room, Norman McNichol, Paul Dennison, Bill Millis, Brandon Neal, Monty Carnes, Vernon Hall, Lee Jackson, Kyle, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Murit, I got it. And then our folks at GRDA, we had a site visit, and every one of them was suit and tie. So I wasn't the only talking head at the front suited up. So I appreciated the effort that they went through. I imagine it's been communicated up through you, and if it hasn't yet, they knocked it out of the park. They were given very limited information and had to answer some very specific engineering questions, and you could see that the engineers in the room wanted a lot more data to provide the answers, but they did a fantastic job, and I think we're going to get a follow-up visit from that group. So,
Paula had on a suit and tie?
Okay, so Paula didn't have on a suit and tie. But she was professionally dressed as always. So as always, I wanted to get through that quick because I know that Bobby wants to talk a little bit about the impact of land run, and I gave him $75 this year to run the race. What's the refund policy on that? Because I don't know if I'm ready.
You got time. Trustees, you have questions for Justin?
I have one question that is kind of silly, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When you say you don't respond to people, do you just not respond, or do you write them and say, we really don't fit?
Yeah, so we literally don't respond, but it's not that we don't respond to them. So when we get these RFPs, we will get them either through Department of Commerce or Oklahoma City Regional Chamber, and they literally only want communication if you're responding. If you respond back that we're not responding, you're cluttering their inbox, they're going to remember you and they don't want to work with you. And sometimes even on some of these, we're working on one today, our region only can reply for 3 sites. And so sometimes they even narrow it down to where there might be 10 of us, 10 communities that think we have a site, but we have to whittle it down to 3. And our partners in Oklahoma City sometimes have to make some tough calls, but we don't respond to all of them. And it's to the site selectors, it's not to the companies. Site selection is a really interesting relationship. You know, they have the company that's the client, then they have the site selector that's working, and then us communities. And we really just want to get to the company because we know they're the decision makers, but we have to play nice with the site selectors. But by playing nice with the site selectors, sometimes that's just leaving them alone because they're so busy and they don't want us cluttering. It's weird because, yeah, in sales, in banking, I wanted to talk to you all the time and get to know you, but they don't like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustees, anything else? I have, what?
Oh, just, I've noticed a lot of stores, businesses have a looking for employees signs.
Yeah.
How are people staffing their businesses?
Yeah, so a low unemployment rate is good and bad. I mean, low unemployment is good in the sense that everyone that is willing, able to work generally has a job, but it's bad for those businesses that are looking to expand. They don't have the qualified workforce, or maybe there's pricing pressures. They just can't pay the $16 an hour and their model is only profitable at 12. So there's a ton. I mean, it's retail as well as our manufacturing friends up north. It's tough to find quality employment right now, which is also tough whenever we're applying to RFPs. And that's why I say sometimes we don't reply. If it's a really large headcount, 1,000, 800 or more employees, we can't sell that story on workforce depending on what classification they're looking for, because we just literally don't have them. They're employed somewhere else, or maybe they're employed at a higher wage and they can't do it. So
one of the nice things about the partnerships, though, and I need to interrupt, is that if there is a training need with Meridian Technology Center and OSU, there might be a fit to where a training program can be created so that training can occur and someone can be placed in that position if that's the case.
Correct. Yeah, if their hiring schedule is one that ramps up appropriately, then we will apply. But there are some that, day one, turn on the lights, they need 500 of these and then ramp to 1,000. That's tough. But if they only need maybe 100 and ramp to 300, 400, 500, then we can get there on that one because we can build programs similar to what we did with ASCO and others. But to put a bow on that, you're going to see those signs out a lot for a while.
Seems like everybody here has relatives or good friends. Invite them to come to Stillwater.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw the Kaiser Foundation's trying to address that in Tulsa, right?
That was pretty creative.
Right?
Yeah. Pay people, right?
Yeah.
That's the new economic development, right? It's not getting the smokestack and then hoping that people will come. It's attracting the workers. It's attracting all the remote folks that can live anywhere to our community. And then if we have more of that critical mass of software engineers or whatever, then we can recruit more interworks of the world to come and set up shop in here. So I think it's brilliant what Kaiser's doing.
So, Justin, just to kind of an overview question for you. I think I asked this most of the times you're up here, but what's one of the things you see in the community right now that's helping you do your job of recruiting, and what do you see as the biggest challenge right now that we as a community need to address to be able to bring more of these folks in?
I need to start re-watching these to make sure I'm not giving you a duplicate answer every time. But I don't know if I said this last time, but especially on the heels of our last site visit and the last couple site visits have been really utility and infrastructure heavy. And finding out that our community is probably a top 3 community in the state that can handle large amounts of water, wastewater a day. If you needed 500 megawatts of power up north of town, I can get you probably close to 500. There's a few substations I'm told that have to be built, but we can get you, pretty well turn on the switch. So utilities and the money we've been investing in infrastructure, and hopefully we continue to do that through all of our rate stabilization funds and Water 2040. That has set us apart. Where we have maybe workforce challenges, we can offset that because other communities that might have a larger labor shed than us, they don't have the utilities. So that's what's helping. What's hurting? I don't know. I've been too distracted with all the good stuff that I don't really know right now. I think just in general, probably with small towns, and it's not unique to us, but sometimes we get distracted, and sometimes we have to recenter ourselves on focusing on what's important. So I don't know. I've seen some moments in our community's existence where we kind of get distracted and chase other things instead of staying kind of true to what we're trying to do, right? Focusing on job recruitment, on quality of life projects, and so on. So that's not something I can fix or you can fix, but we try to uncover new projects for our community, whether it's your board or my board or whatever, and kind of understanding how that fits into the general strategy of the city. Yeah, I think more people, if they could start to think about that before they started throwing out new ideas, that'd be cool.
I think what you cited on the collaboration around Startup Stillwater, getting entities that are pushing or pulling in the same direction together and having people on the same page helps keep people keep us all from chasing our own initiatives, which is helpful because we need a critical mass moving in one direction to get us there.
I'll say, since you mentioned Startup Stillwater, I mean, that's a challenge that I'm starting to see is how we get companies out of the incubator to land into a facility. A $6,000 square foot facility with some office and some lab space is pretty common to what they would need, and that's $1 million building, right? Traditional financing, they're gonna have to put $200,000 down at 80-20, and I mean a lot of these startups don't have $200,000 to put down, so finding access to capital, or more importantly, subsidized rent beyond getting out of the incubators, I think going to be our next challenge. Okay. We're working with a company right now, and that's what we're facing is, how do we as an organization maybe help mitigate some of that risk for the financial institution, or maybe we put some money down for them, or we're a guarantor for the loan. Well, I'd love to guarantee all the loans, but at some point I get a little thin, and then I can't put $100,000 down on everybody's building as much as I think your idea is cool. So I mean, I think that's also probably another challenge for us is how we compete with Ponca. I mean, they've got $1.2 million a year in their economic development budget, and they have 10 spec. They own half of the buildings in the industrial park, and they saw as a need that they needed to help create facilities, put product out there, and get these companies in a building. We're going to need to probably do something like that.
Okay. Trustees, anything else? Thank you, Justin.
I appreciate you guys. Thank
you. Appreciate it. All right. The item most of you people are here to see. Item 5B, analysis of impact of Land Run 100. Mr. Wintle, with the tie.
Yes. Mayor Joyce, councilors, thank you so much for having us. I'm Bobby Wintle.
Hi, I'm Sally. Hold on. I'm Sally Asher, or Sally Turner. Got married. Sorry. I haven't changed my name lately.
Newlywed.
But it's for real. I'm the event manager for Bobby, and we try to make things awesome.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, yes, we just opened our registration for 2019 on Saturday, November 3rd, and we'll get to that in just a second. So this is our seventh time to do this event. We started in 2013 with 121 people from 9 states. That was the first year. In 2013, we had a lot of help to get to that number, and every single year we have started and ended in downtown, and we've done it on 7th Street. Even when the shop was over on Main, we shut down 7th. And then we realized that building was available, and how cool would it be for our event to start and end in front of our own bike shop. And now, since 2014, we moved into 120 West 7th 2 weeks before the second ever Land Run 100. That was a very stressful time, but it worked out really great. So we do this always to coincide with OSU spring break. So the first Saturday of OSU spring break, everyone vacates, and now everyone from out of state, hopefully, and a lot of people in the state come to town for Land Run. So 100 miles of gravel is the main event on your bike. We also have a 50-mile version that is technically not a race, and then we also have a 50K ultra marathon that Mr. Mingus has signed up for. And then if you're crazy enough and you want to do both, you can run a 50K on Friday, the day before the 100-mile bike race, and then you can line up with everyone to ride 100 miles on Saturday. That has overwhelmingly been our most popular thing that's happening to date with the event. People are clamoring to do ridiculous, awful things to themselves. So spring break is normally a really slow time in town. Not anymore. This year, or next year, 2019, it will be Thursday. We'll begin festivities at Iron Monk. We do a special can with them. They help us with manufacturing of the beer and then also order the cans for us. We do the logo, we do the vibe of the can, and then we release it to the public for the first time Thursday night. And I think we were at capacity of the tap room an hour before we released the can this past year. So we're gonna have to figure some things out. It'll be really great. It's always going to be in downtown Stillwater. I just want to say just how incredible downtown is as a backdrop for special events in general. But for Land Run and for our business being right where it is, and to invite everyone in town to get them immediately out of town on these beautiful red dirt roads that we have, we couldn't have a better backdrop with 7th Street in downtown. And I want you all to know how much we appreciate the work that we've been able to do together to continue to have it down there and to close the streets and all the things that go in with that. So let's see. I think that's all I have for that. So a little bit of background about us, about the event. Yeah, we've been here for 7 years now. October 27th was 7 years for the shop. Crystal and I and our kiddos, we only had one at the time. We moved here from Emporia, Kansas. We came here on a couple of hints and a whim. We didn't know a soul. We opened the shop, and now we're here 7 years later, and the event is coming up on its 7th year. It's been 6 years of craziness to put this whole event together, and it's totally, totally wild. Participants, from 2013 to 2018, our top 5 states have been really, really close to us. Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and Texas. And we've had almost 1/4 of the people come back, even though we've had some really terrible muddy years. They decided to come back anyway, so we've had over 1,000 return over those 6 years of the event, and we've had 4,569 unique individuals sign up for the race. In 2018, we had people here from 40 states, Canada, Denmark, and the UK, including Wales and England. Oh, I hit the wrong button, didn't I? I don't know what I did. Okay, sweet, there we go.
Oh, wait.
Oh, back up. Oh, sweet, there we go. Sweet. Historically, you know, people that have money can travel, and they can buy bikes, and they can do things like this. So our statistics are really, really in line with that. The majority of our participants are 40 and over. It's like 40-some% are 40 and over. So they're well-to-do. They're using these events as vacation. They're using them as really, really fun opportunities to get away and see new places, also to challenge themselves. But a lot of them are ready to spend money when they travel. And I think all of the work that we've done, and Sally will talk about this in a second, shows that these people are not coming just to get a room and do the event and leave as quickly as possible and spend no money. They're here, and they're opening their wallets, and they're very, very happy to do so. So 2019, we opened registration at 8 in the morning on November 3rd, and in 7 minutes we sold out 1,000 spots for the 100-mile race. We crashed the website, which was bikereg.com, for over 45 minutes, so no one could get on to register for the 50-mile or get on the wait list until about 8:47 or something like that, or 8:50. And after that, the 50-mile sold out in 4 hours. And yes, right now we have 1,682 riders officially signed up in the event. We have over 525 on the wait list clamoring to get here. So right now we have Brazil, we have 9 from Canada, we have 46 states, we have 10 spots from Denmark that are being given away by a local gravel group in Denmark that we've somehow gotten connected with, which is incredible. We have 103 people signed up for the entire event from Stillwater, Oklahoma. We have just a couple of really fun numbers. We have 68 from Colorado. We have 19 from California, with another 8 people from California on the wait list. We have 6 from New York and 6 from the state of Washington. North Dakota, we just can't get North Dakota, and I don't know why. So, really exciting. The last 2 weeks have been crazy. We've been doing nothing but talking with new sponsors, talking with participants who are very upset they didn't get in. We've been talking with people who are very excited that they did get in. It's just been, it's been wild, and our heads are kind of spinning. So now I'm going to pass it over to Sally.
Okay. So, oh man, that slide did not translate. So when we brought more than 1,000 people to Stillwater earlier this year, we decided, hey, it's probably time to do some kind of economic impact study. And so we made up a sheet. I walked around all the businesses downtown and asked them, can you give me your sales for the weekend or a percentage of how it was higher or lower than the weekends before and after? And so 11 of those businesses got back to us, and we did the math, and March 16th to 18th, Land Run Weekend, brought in more than $155,000 in sales to Stillwater in a time when students, faculty, staff, families generally evacuate to go on spring break vacation. We brought in that much money, which is pretty exciting.
That's the number above what those retailers would have reported normally for the weekend?
That is what they reported for the weekend.
Okay.
So they didn't provide back and forth information on the weekends before and after. Iron Monk, however, this is my favorite one. We had our the beer can release party there the Thursday night before Land Run, and they reported an average sales increase of 235% over the preceding and succeeding weekends. This is just a massive, massive increase for them.
Councilor Zanotti, this is not because you went shopping.
Sorry.
Comment.
So we also wanted to talk to the people who actually came to Stillwater and spent all that money. So we sent out a survey to everybody who participated in the event. We got a 45% response rate, which I'm told is pretty amazing. So that's 680 people who got back to us. So you can kind of see some of the information we got was 432 people stayed in hotels. So, and again, that's hotel rooms that wouldn't normally be booked on a weekend. Some people stayed with friends, some people hit up our Airbnbs, some people camped out at Lake McMurtry, or we've got a friend in Perkins who's got a really great bike fort set up. And Keith, shout out. Keith's Bike Fort hosted a lot of people. And then you can see the top 4 businesses that people said that they went to the most. Aspen Coffee Company, and this doesn't include District, because, you know. So Aspen Coffee Company, Iron Monk, Louis' Grill and Bar, which is really popular, and then 1907 Meat Company. And then we also got people who went to Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, and they went to both Granny's Kitchen, Granny's Steakhouse, Blue Spruce, all over the place. People were here to hang out and spend money and eat and drink and have a good time. So this year, we kind of revamped our sponsorship structure, and we're going with sponsorship categories. So you've got like bike frame sponsor, wheel sponsor, tire sponsor, rather than levels of category or levels of sponsorships. And we've always had a sponsor expo, but this year we're opening it up to anybody who wants to be there within the kind of the bicycle outdoor industry. So yeah, we've got a tire sponsor, but we've also probably got some other people who will say, I've got great tires too, I want to come and be at a part of your expo. So the expo is going to be Friday, March 15th, 10 to 6, so open all day. People are going to be coming and going and seeing what's up. It's going to be downtown Stillwater. We're still trying to figure out exactly where we want to put it, but it'll be really close to the start-finish line because that's kind of the backdrop for the riders meetings that we have that Bobby, leads and sings Country Roads really loudly. And everybody sings along. We have currently 12 industry brands confirmed who are going to be here, and they've got several 10 by 10 tent spots that they have agreed to fill. And then we're talking to tons more people who want in. And I think a really exciting part of this is that it's not just like, oh, you're going around looking at tents. Well, that person's got a cool thing. That person's got snacks, whatever. There's stuff to do. And so we're going to have a kids' bike demo with Salsa Cycles. They're going to come out and bring some bikes for kids to try out. Kind of break it in, see that, yeah, cycling is fun. We want to get kids on bikes earlier and faster and consistently because they'll grow up into people who might come and ride Land Run. So, yeah, and then here's Bobby. At the finish line, it's always a good party.
So yeah, this has been the finish line, and I just want to say thanks to Sally. We've never been able to have a full-time employee before, ever, and so Sally is our event manager, and we've got her doing all sorts of random stuff throughout the year, but she's done an amazing job communicating with sponsors and putting this expo into place. So I just want to say thank you to her for working with me particularly, but also doing such a great job with all these people in the bike industry and giving them a great communication platform and being able to talk with people and get them excited about being here. Because I can't be in the shop and do things and do this all the time at the same time. So it's been incredible to have her on board to keep things in line and in a row. So in closing, thank you for the opportunity to give a feedback on what we're doing. And I keep getting the question, where are we going from here? Why aren't you capitalizing on this more? Why don't you open it up to more spots? So this isn't my quote, but another race director in Breckenridge, Colorado recently said, bigger is not better. better is better. So our main focus, something that I'm thinking about every day as we get more and more calls from people from all over the country and out of this country about being a part of this event, is that bigger is not better. Better is better. So how can we make that happen? And we want to work together, continue this relationship with the city. Norm, you've been amazing the last few years. I really, really appreciate everything you've done for us. And we want to make this better, not bigger. And we don't want to just capitalize on it and make it a commodity and make it a normal thing that happens 5 times a year because we think we can fill all these spots and make all this money. We truly want to care about the genuineness of it. Also, I really want to go on record in saying that Will Joyce, our current mayor, is an official finisher of Land Run 50 Mile in 2016 with a time of 6 hours, 51 minutes, and 13 seconds. And that's all we have.
That is a really, really bad time. It was really slow.
That was a really muddy year, though.
It was super muddy.
It was super muddy. Yeah. So, and a lot of race directors cannot say that their mayor or current mayor or former mayor has done something like this. So, anyway, thanks, man.
Didn't you? I thought you wrote it.
I haven't done one yet.
We've been talking about it, though.
Mr. Nutt, yeah, we have. Mr. Nutt in the back of the room can attest to my writing ability right now from Colorado a couple of months ago. So I've got a little work to do.
I got a note from the lieutenant governor-elect this week that he's riding the Land Run 50 this year, who is the head of the state tourism, all the stuff that the state does for tourism. So he's going to be in Stillwater riding the Land Run.
Yeah, which unsolicited. Yeah, we had no idea.
Yep. So that's
I have
really
to say,
exciting.
I helped with registration last year, and I just was amazed that it's not just the participants that are coming, and they're bringing their families. And so I think that speaks volumes to the type of event that this is. And you're right, you want these kids to have a good experience, too, so that they want to come back when they get older and do the Land Run. And so kudos to you for putting this on. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're looking forward to working with you this year and getting everything set up and figure out how it's all going to work and the logistics. And I know it's always
it's wild.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And so we certainly appreciate all the work you've done and the community that you just have brought to the meeting to even just watch you talk about it, even though I'm pretty sure everybody here knows all about Land Run.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody.
So thank you for being here.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your work. Okay. Wait, where are we? I turned the page. Reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report, sir.
Mr. McNichol.
Nothing to report, sir.
Trustees.
Nothing to report.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, SEDA is adjourned. We will now jump to the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting. I will call this meeting to order for November 19, 2018. On the consent docket, trustees, questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to accept the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Item 5A, resolutions. Resolution SUA 2018-9, a resolution amending the City of Stillwater standards adopted March 20, 2017, Section 1400, Part 3, Rural Water System, Subsection 3, Water Mains. Mr. McNichol.
I believe Mr. Dorman actually is
Mr.
the one
Dorman?
that is going to explain this one to you. We have been talking back and forth about this for quite some time. We have some maintenance issues out in those rural water systems that we continue to work on, but to be able to provide consistently 40 pounds would be difficult and very, very expensive. What our recommendation is that as that system gets closer to the city limits, and 2040 is going to be when it's finished, will be a big boon to those systems. But as, excuse me, as we build out closer to the city limits, that we will continue to endeavor to get the pressures up. But we have some far-flung pipes where that would be very, very difficult and expensive.
So this resolution simply reduces it back down to the state standard of 25 PSI. And as Norman has indicated to you, with the intent to, increase it to 40 in every area that you can as the system develops out, and through the process of annexation. As the city continues to grow west, then as it is annexed, then that then the existing standard would increase automatically. So that's what this will do, is simply reduce it to that state mandated level.
Okay. Trustees, questions or comments? Or motions?
Motion to adopt resolution number SUA 2018-9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, resolution SUA 2018-9 is adopted. Reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report, sir.
Mr. McNichol.
I would say that I'm proud to be Dr. Wedlake's much older twin today.
You wear it better than I do, sir.
Thank you. Trustees, any other comments? Councilor Wedlake, Trustee Wedlake, you got any follow-up to that?
No, I think Mr. McNichol said it all.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the SUA meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, we're adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes.